بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, the last time that we were together we got to the second page of zakah and we talked about the nisab. Today inshallah we will see if we are able to finish zakat or at least get to zakat al-fitr. So we're going to start from nisab al-ghanam, the nisab of lamb and sheep or goat and sheep. Lamb and sheep is the same thing. Okay, bismillah. Read first.
نصاب الغنم فصل وأول نصاب الغنم 40 وفيه شاة جذعة من الضأن أو ثنية من المعز وفي 121 شاتان وفي 201 3 شياه وفي 400 4 شياه ثم في كل 100 شاة.
So he says the nisab of al-ghanam, then this is of sheep and goats. He says وَأَوَّلُ نِصَابِ الْغَنَمِ 40. When you reach 40, in terms of having sheep or goat, you are going to have to pay the zakat for it is going to be a shah, that is jad'a. What is jad'a? We talked about it when we were talking about camels. This is a 1-year-old sheep. 1-year-old male sheep that you would give for 40. من الضأن, الضأن is a male lamb. This is a male lamb. أو الثنية, or you give a female goat that is 2 years old from al-mi'z. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know these two words inside of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, ثمانية أزواج, that Allah has created 8 pairs. من الضأن اثنين ومن المعز اثنين. So الضأن is sheep. And من المعز اثنين, المعز is what? Goats. So you either give, when you reach 40, when you have 40 of them, you either give one lamb female that is 1 year old, or you give a goat that is 2 years old and it is a female. Then he says, وَفِي 121, if you reach 120, you are going to give 2 of them. So either you give 2 sheeps, 121, did I say 120? Yeah, so you either give 2 sheeps that are 1-year-old males or 2-year-old females. وفي 200 and وواحدة, if you reach to 201, you are going to pay 3 of those. And then if you reach 400, you pay 4. And then he says, ثم في كل 100 شاة. Every time you go up, for every 100, you include one more sheep to it. So when you get to 500, how many?
5.
600? 630? 630. 6. You stay at 6 until you get to 700. This is when it comes to sheep. This is I think out of all of the ones, these are the cheapest ones. And then generally you would pick whichever one is more expensive when it's time for you to pay. So if the female one is the 1-year-old sheep is more expensive, for some reason, you would pay the sheep. Or if the 2-year-old female goat is more expensive, you would pay for that one. And as you go up, you just continue to pay zakah. And this is once every year that they come. This for us ends all of the nisab of animals, of cattle. Now he brings something else. Bismillah, read for us.
زكاة المال المشترك فصل والخليطان يزكيان زكاة الواحد ب7 شرائط إذا كان المراح واحدا والمسرح واحدا والمرعى واحدا والفحل واحدا والمشرب واحدا والحالب واحدا وموضع الحلب واحدا.
Okay, زكاة المال المشترك, zakat on wealth that is shared. This wealth that is shared here, we're talking about animals, right? This is the last of dealing with animals. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that 2 people that are sharing, like cattle, they should not divide it to avoid sadaqah, nor should they combine it to avoid sadaqah. And sadaqah here meaning paying zakah, right? So there is a practice where people would share animals together. And really, if you share animals with people, you fall into one of 3 places. One, where it becomes easier for you to pay zakah. 2, it becomes harder for you to pay zakah. Or 3, it becomes easier on one person, harder on the other person. For example, we're talking about sheep. Let's say we have sheep. If we have 80 sheep separately, how much would we pay?
Okay.
1. We'll pay 1, right, until it gets to 121. Now, what if I had 80? I had 80 by myself. I would still pay 1, right? How about I have 121? I'd pay 2. But let's say I partnered with someone. Now I have 20, he has 20. Now our thing becomes 40, and we only pay the price of 1. Even though if I didn't combine with him, I wouldn't pay zakah. Right? I would not pay zakah, but because I combined, I would pay 1. So here, both of us are like in the same boat. Or let's say out of 121, what we have to pay 2, I have 80 of it, you have 60, right? We are still we're going to pay only 2, instead of you also having to pay 1 by yourself and me having to pay 2. So we're saving, and it's hard, it's easier on the person that has a lot more than the one that has little. So these are where you find yourself. But for this to count, and for you to pay zakah on these, you need to, and it'll always be the zakah of one person, right? When wealth are combined, you pay the zakah of one person, the nisab is of one person, and so on. You wouldn't say, if it's 20 here, we just said it's 40 for sheep and lamb, and goat. We're not going to say, you know what? 40 for you, 40 for me. So if we have 80, that's when we pay. So if we have 45, if we have 46, we don't pay. No. You do it based on the nisab of one person. But they need to have 7 conditions. These 7 conditions, all of them are, even in the Shafi'i madhab, all of them except for one are agreed upon. All of them, and then we'll talk about which one. So he says the first one, that it is the mirah has to be 1. What is mirah? The place that they sleep. The place that they sleep. So,
meaning the cattle.
The cattle, yes. So where the cattle sleep, it has to be one place, right? There's no division of mine sleep here, yours sleep here. No, they sleep in the same place. And then, wal misrah wahid. What is misrah? None of us have farms. But this means, before you take them to drink water, the place that you would gather them and take them to water. So wherever they gather before they go, it has to be the same place. Then after that, وَالْمِرْعَ وَاحِدْ وَالْمِرَاعُ وَاحِدْ. This is the shepherd. It has to be 1. It doesn't mean that it has to be one person, but it means that, like, if we have 3 shepherds, and they take care of all of the animals together, that will still count as 1. It doesn't, like, Abdul Qadir wouldn't hire 1 for his flock and I wouldn't hire 1 for our flock, right? It would all be, let's say we have 7 of them, and they would all be taking care of the animals together without differentiating between this sheep belongs to him and this sheep belongs to so and so. And then, وَالْفَحْلُ وَاحِدْ. What is fahl? This is a stud. Generally, when you keep animals, you have a lot more females than you do males. So the stud, the one that would get them pregnant and so on, has to be 1. Again, 1 not as a number, but 1 as, like, for all, it doesn't matter, right? You don't say, this is my stud and this is your stud. If we have 6 studs and they're all like, there's no division of, these 3 specific ones are mine, khalas, this will stay. They just have to be 1. That they could go and impregnate, the cows that I own, or the camels, or the sheep, and so on, and vice versa. Then he says after that, وَالْمَشْرَبُ وَاحِدْ. That the place that they are going to drink, wherever they go to drink, whether it is a river, whether it is a pond, whether it is a spring, it is the same. So there's no division. You take them there, they're going to drink from it. And then وَالْحَالِبُ وَاحِدْ. Not the milk here. Halib, this is ismu fa'il, right? This is the person milking them. The person milking them has to be 1, right? Same person. This is the only one that there is a little bit of difference. That, like, if you hire a certain like, you could hire your individual one to milk a set of cows, and I could hire one individual one that works like on my set of cows, right? But here, obviously for him, he puts it as a condition that the person milking, there's no differentiating between your cows and my cow. And then وَمَوْضِعُ الْحَلَبِ وَاحِدْ. And then also the place that they're actually being milked has to be the same. So yours don't go to a different place and mine don't go to a different place. These 7 conditions need to be met for a person, for the wealth to be counted as 1 or combined. On top of this, all of the other conditions that we talked about before, that they have to be Muslims, right? So if let's say a person is sharing with a kafir, with a non-Muslim, or if a person that is free is sharing this wealth somehow with a person that is a servant, or if someone has his nisab has not reached that place, right, and the other person's nisab has reached it or not, like all of the conditions of zakat that we mentioned also have to be here. So there has to be, again, the waiting of the year before you would pay on them. Now, if in the period of the year, for some reason the animals would get separated, like if they spend a few nights not sleeping together, or not being taken by the same person to go and drink and so on, if it is small and it is not done intentionally, it will still count as the year. But if there is any break, like intentionally in that year of, you know what, I don't want my sheep to sleep where your sheep are sleeping, I want my sheep to go to this other pen, I think that's what they call it, right? They call it a pen where the sheep go. So I want mine to go to this other place. And if they go there, khalas, then this is not wealth that now is being shared together. If for some reason there's a Muslim and a non-Muslim that are sharing it, the Muslim just has to pay zakat on the entire share of these animals. He just has to pay it, and it would be considered, his thing. Any questions on this part? Okay, none of us has animals, so khalas. Well, maybe Bismillah, read Bismillah.
نصاب الذهب والفضة فصل. ونصاب الذهب 20 مثقالا وفيه ربع العشر وهو نصف مثقال وفيما زاد بحسابه.
Okay, Bismillah, go ahead.
ونصاب الورق 100 درهم وفيه ربع العشر وهو 5 دراهم وفيما زاد بحسابه ولا تجب في الحلي المباح زكاة.
So he says now the nisab of al-dhahab wal-fidda. We talked about al-dhahab wal-fidda before, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقون في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب أليم. Those that gather together the gold and silver, like they keep it as treasure, and they do not pay it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fi sabilillah means like they don't pay the zakat on it. Give them the glad tidings of a painful punishment that is coming. So what is the nisab of al-dhahab wal-fidda? He says, وَنِصَابُ الذَّهَبِ 20 مِثْقَالًا. That for al-dhahab, you need to have 20 mithqal. We talked about this last week, even though we went a little bit ahead. How many grams of gold do we need? Anybody know? What is 20 mithqal? 85. 85 grams of what kind of gold? 24 karat. Otherwise known as? Pure gold. Right, pure gold. Once all of the dirt has been removed, this is where you are going to get it, and this is from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ليس في أقل من 20. That there is no من 20 دينارا شيئا. That when it comes to dinar, if you have less than 20, you don't have to pay anything. And 20 dinar at that time, dinar is gold, dirham is silver, and that's why when he talks about silver, he says 100 dirham. So the Prophet ﷺ says, if you have less than 20 dirhams, if you have less than 20 or dinars, you're not going to pay anything of zakah. But if you have it, you have to give nisf dinar. And nisf dinar, here, this is where the 2.5% comes from. And then also, he says, وَفِيهِ رُبْعُ الْعُشْرِ. رُبْعُ الْعُشْرِ is what? A quarter of 10, which is 2.5. Right, this is what you would pay if you have 85 grams of pure gold. 85 grams of 24 karat, you would pay 20. And as you go, وَفِيمَا زَادَ بِحِسَابِهِ. As you go up, you go from 20 to 40. Now you have to pay 1 gold. You go from, let's say, 40 to 80. And so on. As you go up, you just continue to do the math that is here. That for every 20 mithqal that you pay, ربع عشر, you pay 2.5% of it. Any questions on this one? طيب. Then he says, وَنِصَابُ الْوَرَقِ. And al-waraq is silver. Right? This is also how the Prophet ﷺ would refer to silver and so on. So, وَفِيهِ رُبْعُ عُشْرٍ. And you have the same thing. You would pay 2.5 of 200 silver coins. How many grams? This is an easy number for us to remember. We went over it last week. 595. 595 grams of silver. Right, 595 grams of silver. And then he says, وَهُوَ خَمْسَةُ دِرْهَمْ وَفِي مَا زَادَ بِحِسَابٍ. And out of that 200, you'd pay 5. Out of 200, you pay 5. And then as you go up, this is what you just continue to do. And we have the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَيْسَ فِي مَا دُونَ خَمْسَ أَوْقٍ مِنَ الْوَرَقِ صَدَقَةً, that if it does not reach 5, like the 200 of it, you don't have to pay any sadaqah. Then he says, وَلَا تَجِبُ فِي الْحُلِيِّ الْمُبَاحِ زَكَاةً. On gold, on silver and gold, here we'll stick like jewelry, that is mubah, that is allowed, you don't have to pay zakah. Now, I think we also talked about this a little bit last week. In the Shafi'i madhab, to here we would say, like in this book that we're studying, the opinion of the author is that if there is gold or silver that is allowed, and allowed mubah here means, for example, if a man has a gold ring, he has to pay zakah because it's haram for him to have it. Or if he has a gold chain, or if he has, like, for some reason, Allah make it easy, he has a gold bracelet or gold bangle, haram for him to have, therefore he has to pay. طيب. Now, when it comes to, let's say, those same things, but for a woman, then in the Shafi'i madhab, there's 2 opinions. The first opinion, and this is the old school of it, and Imam Shafi'i, this is what he states in his book Kitabul, that there's no zakat on it. And there are reports that have reached us from the companions, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, including Jabir, Aisha, and Abdullah ibn Umar, that there's no zakat on the things that you wear. In the new school of the Shafi'i madhab, the opinion is that and this is Imam al-Shafi'i himself, like he alludes to it that you have to pay zakah, even on the ones that you wear. From the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those that held this view are Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and Abdullah ibn Abbas. That their view was any kind of jewelry, whether you wear it or you don't wear it, you have to pay. Right? And this is the safest opinion. And this is also, the madhab of Imam al-Zuhri, Imam al-Thawri, Imam Abu Hanifa, his 2 companions, and others, that any time like any type of jewelry that you have, you wear it. And so in the madhab itself, there's always like a balance between these 2 places. Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, he combines the 2 opinions. He says if it is gold if it is jewelry that a person regularly wears, like actually uses, then you don't pay zakat on it. It becomes like the cars that we use, like the animals that we talked about that are not just there for grazing, right? Animals that are working, we don't pay zakat on it. If we're using a cow to till the land, we don't pay zakat because it's something that we're using. Our clothes, we don't pay zakat on it because it's something that we're using. All of these things. If it is something like that, so if a person, like let's say, a sister is always wearing gold earrings, a gold necklace, and maybe a ring or like bracelets, and always this is what they're wearing. Khalas, we say this you're using, we don't have to pay zakat. But let's say that there is like the stash of gold that never sees the light of day, only comes out when it is time to count zakat, or maybe comes out once in a while for a wedding or a special occasion, you have to pay zakat on those ones. Because what you're doing is you're storing these things, right? You read like everyone's not going through, right? So in that case, it's better for us to just take the opinion that, okay, this is actually, if we look at it, this is israf, right? If we are being wasteful by just keeping it there and not understanding that we would have to pay zakat on this. So we would pay on those. Is that clear?
I heard an opinion, I don't know if this is related, but they have to wear it at least once a year.
Yeah, they have to. So for us, more than at least once a year. It has to be something that like, okay, for us, our women have a lot of gold, right? They really have a lot of gold, right? And because they have a lot of gold, when do you decide like there are some that they've worn? Like I've received gifts for my daughter from like her grandparents and so on, where it's gold. My daughter has never worn those. It's just kept away somewhere. And then when it's time for zakat, I can't be like, oh, it's almost a year. Here you go, put this on. Take it off, so you put it back away. Now I don't have to pay zakat, right? So it would be like if she actually wore it, I'm not going to count it towards it. But if it's not, like it's there and I don't even remember until it's time to pay zakat, I'm paying zakat on it. Right? So for like it cannot be israf. So if there's actual like usage for it, let's say you wore it for a week or you wore it for 2-3 weeks, or you're someone that, every month you're changing, the sets that they would wear from one to another, right? You don't have to pay zakat on those kind.
So silver jewelry.
Yes.
For men.
Yes.
Is it permissible and is it zakatable?
Except for the ring, everything is not allowed.
Except for the ring?
Except for the ring, yes. You can't wear no chains. People need to fear God.
What about al-urf?
That urf is not even our urf. No, so let me tell you guys the thing, right? Al-urf, we need a قواعد الفقهية class, yeah? Al-urf, like customs, they only apply when there's no shar'i nusus for it. Come on, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, make the people that imitate the other gender, make them leave your house. And what we know from customs is that jewelry that you would wear around the neck, that you would wear a bracelet, these are the practices of women and not that of men. So before, like we don't have to go to urf, we have this here. So don't put on necklaces. It's crazy. That's so wild. SubhanAllah. Just let the neck hang free, man. Put an imam on or something. If you want something on your neck. Yeah, so I and then even it's not even real silver on top of that. Your question?
Saying put a kufi on your neck.
Yeah, خلاص, this is a good time for it. So you have that. So if on the necklace you pay zakat. If it's real silver, obviously. In the Shafi'i madhab, other types of metals, we don't pay zakat on them. So for example, someone has like, the precious metals like ruby, platinum, like we don't pay zakat on those type of things. We only pay on gold and silver.
What if you plan to sell something that you wear it? Is that?
So we'll talk about that the next subcategory. The next subcategory, or the next part of it, actually 2 parts away, we'll talk about like jewelry, anything really. That you
Precious stones. Does that count towards jewelry?
The only ones we consider wearing, like paying zakat on, gold and silver. Right? There's the other madhahib that also look at the other precious metals and say you also have to do it on there because it's similar to gold and stuff. But Shafi'i, we just know gold and. Yeah, that's different. I mean, on fruits we don't pay zakat, right? But if I have a fruit shop, I have to pay zakat on the fruits. Not because they're fruits. Now, I don't look at them as fruits, right? I look at them as trade goods. And because of that, they're different than like all of the things. We also don't pay, for example, we shouldn't do this, but let's say when we talked about animals, we only said cattle, right? We only pay zakat on cattle. For some reason, you have a dog shop, right? You have a bunch of dogs that you're selling and stuff. Even though this is the worst type of wealth to have, you still have to pay zakat on it, not as the animal itself, but as a trade good. So, any other questions on gold and silver? طيب, next part.
نصاب الزروع والثمار فصل. ونصاب الزروع والثمار 5 أوسق وهي 1600 رطل بالعراقي وفيما زاد بحسابه. وفيها إن سكرت بماء السماء أو السيح العشر. وإن سقيت بدولاب أو نضح نصف العشر. Okay, الزروع والثمار is what? Vegetables and fruits, and we are going to call them agriculture. Is this restricted or is this on every type of fruit and agriculture?
The ones that you collect in the end.
The ones that you collect in the end? Don't you collect all of them in the end, brother?
The one you can store, right?
The one that you could store, and then the ones that you could
sell.
Not sell. You could store and you could eat. So they have to be, and then they also have to be planted. What kind of plants?
I mean, look, you're not going to have zakat on wheat, for example.
On wheat.
Weed.
Maybe purified with weed, huh? Purified with zakat, huh?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle, it's a miracle. No, so the other part is that it has to be things that human beings plant. Right? Like it has to be something that like we want to plant for a benefit that comes. So those, he says, when يصاب الزروع والثمار خمسة أوسق, that it has to be خمسة أوسق. We said an awsuq is what? A camel load. Remember we said 1 camel load, you need to have 5 camel loads, and then you pay zakat on once it reaches camel loads. Anyone remember the grams and pounds? Actually, the kilograms and pounds we talked about? 600 and what? 609 and 84 kilograms, or 1,344 pounds, 45 pounds, we'll say, round it up. This is without the husk or the cover of the fruits, not the fruits, the cover of the
The cover of the corn.
no, like barley. When you pick barley, you have a stick at the end that has the barley. You remove the skin, you remove the stem, like actual barley itself or wheat itself, or dates in some cases. Then you pay on that has to reach the 1,345 pounds, and on that is what you are going to be paying. And what do you pay on that? He says, he actually gives you the وهي 1600 رطل بالعراق. He says that is 1,600. Ritl is easier word for us to use. It would be like liters. But bil Iraq, al-Iraqi, this was like a type of measurement that they used to use. So you would go from a sa' to a mud, or no, is it the opposite? You go from a mud to a sa', you go from there, you get to Iraqi. This was like the measurement that they would have. And as you go, so from that's 1345. From 1345, you are going to pay one awsuq of it, you're going to pay in zakat. Now, no, before you even do that, he says, وَفِيمَا إِن سُقِيَتْ بِمَاءِ السَّمَاءِ أو السَّيْحِ الْعُشْرِ. You have to pay a tenth, which is how much?
Tenth of 13, 1 point.
So is this 2.5 or is it a tenth? Is there a difference? Not rub'a, just al-ushr. So just a tenth of the whole thing. So you have, if it is what? If it has been irrigated by a sama, so if rain has come, or in some instances snow, if they have come down and they are the ones that provided the water for it to grow, you have to pay a tenth of it. Or a sayh, what is a sayh?
Something that melts?
Flood. This is a flood, right? A sayh is a flood. So if there's a flood, and the flood irrigates the land, you have to pay it. But he says, وَإِن سُقِيَتْ بِدُولَابٍ. What is dulab? This is a bucket. So like if here we'll just take it to mean, if you are the one that is watering the crops, you are going to give nisful ushr. So 5% of whatever you do it. Whatever is those pounds, you take 10% if it has been by the sky or by a flood, or just natural water resources that you yourself are not going and getting and pouring it on here. But if you are doing it, you do have. Now, the difference between this, there's one difference between vegetation, like agriculture, and all of the other nisab that we talked about it. And that is, do you wait a year for this? When do you do it? As soon as you harvest. وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِ. Like fulfill, pay the right that it has. As soon as you are going and you are picking it up, and so on. And then this one is yes.
So the natural irrigation part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you dug a well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that count? Like most of these, like modern agriculture, you have some type of irrigation system, right?
No, so if you make the irrigation system and you are finding the water and putting it in, you have to pay 5%. You have to pay 5%. It has to be like rain, snow, flood. Those type of things.
It's impossible. I didn't understand how would this rain
On the
Like on the East Coast, huh? No. So let's go dates. Do we water dates?
And
Or is we just let the rain go on it and then hope, rain comes and it's going to produce vegetation? We just wait for the rain, right? I know that in places that they don't naturally grow, like the dates that we have, the majul dates and stuff, they use their own irrigation systems. They don't wait for the rain, right? We have dates in Seattle that they used to grow inside of labs. The palm tree would be like this tall, right? And it would have a lot of dates on it. That is for sure not seeing rain, right? That you have to pay 5%.
okay, so let's say you're irrigating the crop, right? So you're not allowed to pay zakat on it. And when you make the transaction, you sell it, the wealth that you get from it, does that count? The overall.
Say it again?
So if I have like crops, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm the one irrigating it, so okay, whatever I have, I harvested the crop. I don't have to pay zakat on it.
5%.
You pay 5%.
Oh, 5%.
Yeah, that's what you pay. So the other thing, when we're talking about agriculture, how many types of fruits and vegetables are we talking about? Let's hear. Just 2?
All agriculture that is storable animal, right? No, if it's for it's intentionally is it just your business or 5%?
No, I'm saying as like this is for a farmer that's not planning to sell. Like let's say, right, I just have, for some reason, palm trees inside my house, or like in my backyard, and they produce dates, and they're on my property, so these are my dates, and zero intentions of selling. But somehow they give me 5 camel loads, 5 camel loads of dates. I have to pay zakat, right? So is this on, what if I had like an orange tree? Do I have to pay on oranges? Only 2 types of fruits have zakah. Only 2 types of fruits. What did we say they were? Dates wal karam. Karam is? So grapes, but if the plan is to do raisins, right? And things that grow on grapevine, that's what we said. That's what, things that grow on a palm date tree and things that grow on a grapevine, only those fruits. Because regular fruits, you can eat them, but you cannot store them, right? You can't store oranges for a long time. It can't go a year. And the purpose of it is you are eating it for enjoyment. If someone is going, like you have to, the time that it ripens until the time that you have to eat it, in reality, not in what we find in the stores, it's very limited time. The way that if you have fruit trees, you have from the time that they are ripe, and if you just let them stay on the tree, what happens to it? They get bad before they fall on the ground. When it falls, what does that mean? It's no longer edible, technically. Like you shouldn't be eating the fruits that fall on the ground. So when that happens, it means like that, and the time is very small, right? And like if they come out in the summertime, by the time you are a few steps, like a few weeks into it, the things are going to fall down. So therefore, on those type of fruits, we don't pay. On foods that we eat for enjoyment, only dates, because you can store them for a long time. On top of that, grapevines, just vine, like fruits that grow on a grapevine. So if you have grapes and you let them stay on the vine and you don't pick them, they're not going to fall down. What's going to happen to them? They'll turn into raisins. On the other side, you only pay it on, this is vegetation. You're going to pay it on wheat, barley, and anything that resembles them.
So corn,
Do you pay zakat on corn?
Yes.
I have no idea actually. No idea if you pay on corn. In India they make you pay zakat on corn? Hold on, what did we say? Hold on, let's go back to our notes. So can you say, how long can you save corn for? Can you save it long enough for like a year you could keep it for a long time for nourishment? Allah knows best. We'll come back with the answer next week, inshallah.
There are techniques storing any type of food for
Long time. So what did we say about that? What kind? Last week, what kind of storing does it have to be?
Natural.
It has to be natural. Like today, we can save fruits for a long time, right?
We can have dates in Seattle.
Yeah, we can have dates in Seattle, which like should not be happening, right? This is like those type of things. It happens. So because of that, it is it's different. So it has to be like naturally occurring thing that this thing is not going to go bad. If you were to say like barley, wheat, grains, you save those things. They're there for a long time. You know. طيب. Any questions on this part? Next part. Bismillah.
تقويم عروض التجارة فصل وتقوم عروض التجارة عند آخر الحول بما اشتريت به ويخرج من ذلك ربع العشر.
Okay, here. طيب. He says this is trade goods. On trade good, this we're going to just look at it as wealth. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم. أموالهم here is like money. And so all kinds of money. All kinds of things that have value to where it can translate into money. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. That in their wealth, that there is, a right that they have to pay. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us in an authentic hadith, لَيْسَ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ حَقٌّ إِلَّا الزَّكَاةِ, that there's no right in zakah, in wealth except zakah. So the thing that we have to pay is zakat. We mentioned last week the hadith that's found in Sahih Imam Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ says there's not a single person that has gold or silver, right, like as wealth, and does not pay the zakat, except that on the Day of Judgment it is going to be brought as sheets, right? Sheets of silver and sheets of gold, and they're going to be heated in Jahannam, and they're going to be put on the flanks and the foreheads of this individual. And then when they cool, like when the person is done getting branded and they cool down, it's going to be taken off of him, then dipped into the fire again until the hisab stands. So 50,000 years. 50,000 years. The person that withheld zakat did not pay the right of it. Just khalas. You are, and everyone's just going to see. On top of that, you're not wearing clothes, right? So like we are going to see, just get branded, your flanks, your forehead, all of these. And the other various punishments for the people that withhold zakat. Now, he says, when it comes to the urud al-tijara, like any trade goods, here, anything that a person has the intentions of selling, whether it is to sell today, tomorrow, or to sell a year from now, this is called a trade good, and zakat is due on it. And the way that the zakat is due on it, it's عند آخر الحول. At the end of the year, the value of it, you are just going to go look at it and take ربع العشر. You're going to, what is ربع العشر? 2.5%. So the value of, let's say I sell tomatoes. Generally, I don't pay zakat on tomatoes as a plant, like as a fruit itself. But as that trade good, let's say I have $10,000 worth of tomatoes in my inventory at the end of the year. I would take 10,000 and pay 2.5% of it. 2.5% of 10,000 is what? 2,500 of 10,000. So pay those zakat, inshallah, inshallah. If those are the kind of zakat you pay, brother, Allah Akbar. I like that. 20, instead of 2.5, we pay 25%. Remove all doubt that he said, I'm not going to be branded on the Day of Judgment. That is not happening. So you would wait until the end of the year. There are some that say at the beginning. What if, for example, you are someone that instead of having a yearly inventory, you have month to month, right? So 500 today, 500, 500, 500. If it is a constant number, then I would just at the end of the inventory that I have, like what is left over, I'm going to pay for that one. But if it is something that is like fluctuating like crazy, going up and down, what do I do at that time? At the end of the year, I'm going to look at, I know for sure that as a business owner, I am outside of the nisab. Like I already passed it. Just the fact that I have trade goods to give away, I am already outside of that kind of, having to worry about the nisab and things like that. So I'm going to wait until the end of the year and take the average of these fluctuations of going up and down, say what is generally my inventory if it comes at a time where like the number went, like instead of having $10,000 worth of things, the year comes and I'm at like 4,000. So instead of saying, 4,000, let me pay on that, you would take the average of everything that comes and you're going to say, you know what? On this average is what I'm going to pay zakat. And the reason for this would be to remove all doubt on whether you've paid zakat on this. And because zakat is so small, we always need to, it's not a lot of wealth that we're being asked to give. So if we've been asked to give very little, 2.5%, 2.5%, like we need to make sure that we avoid being held responsible for 2.5% of our wealth. And this is like any type of good that you are using as trade. So if you sell cars, you would look at the value of your cars at the end, 2.5% of it. If you are, let's say you sell, like you have a convenience store where you sell different things. You look at your inventory data, go to the end and say 2.5% I have to pay.
So here in the book it says بمشتري به, which means how much you paid for it when you bought it.
No, بمشتريت به here means with what you bought it.
With what I bought it, right?
Yes, not the value, but you would pay, like if you bought it with gold, you would pay it in gold. If you bought it with cash, you would pay it in cash. Like that. So whatever, how did you buy it? Did you buy it, did you sell, like do you buy cows and sell them for sheep? Then you'd pay it, with those things that you bought them for. That's what it is.
I heard that other than the average, there's the minimum. But I also heard that some folks, because they have difficulty calculating the value, they just take, they choose a time of year, let's say Ramadan.
Yes.
They look at that number.
2.5%.
Yeah.
Yes. You could also do that. But we want to do the one that is safest for us. If we are business owners, right? If we are into selling things, I want to really take generally when it comes to fiqh, you always want to take the most extremist views for yourself, right? You want to make it very hard on yourself, just to avoid, falling into, coming into shortfalls. But when we deal with the people, then we give them the other options, right? So when we look at, should I pay it on the minimum? This is an option. This is not the most extreme one. Right? This is like you don't really want to risk your akhirah for 2.5%. Right? Just do the average so you feel like there is a little bit of clarity on there. Any other questions? And this is for all types of trade goods. Even those that are haram and things like that, you still have to pay zakat. And then you'll deal with the sin of not paying, of trading in haram on the day of judgment. May Allah make it easy. Next part.
وما استخرج من معادن الذهب والفضة يخرج منه ربع العشر في الحل.
Okay, let's stop here. So anything that is taken, these are mines, right? I'm talking about mines, like you had gold mines, you have silver mines. In the Shafi'i madhab, only these two types of things. If you're extracting them, as soon as you extract them, you're going to pay 2.5% of it. And as soon as you extract them and you purify them, you pay 2.5%. You don't wait for it to be, to wait a year and so on. In the other madahib, any precious metal that is extracted, so we go rubies, what are other precious metals, man? Sapphire, platinum, even gem, like if someone extracts gems and so on, like these, you would pay 2 point. But in the madhab, only gold and silver.
Do you pay the zakat after you purify or right after you mine it?
So as like the process should be that you mine, you purify, right? But if you're someone that takes it out, and then let's say you wait a year to purify it, you should, the expected value of what it would be when you purify it, you have to pay it. Like as soon as you took it out of the ground. Any other questions? So if we were alive during the gold rush, right, and we were able to go and extract gold, as soon as we're extracting, we'd be paying zakat. And then really, if we did that, we'd get more gold than everybody else. Yeah, later. Read the next one.
وما يوجد من الركاز ففيه الخمس.
الركاز, if you find a rikaz, this is, I don't know if in our lifetime we're going to find it, this is treasure. If you find treasure, ففيه الخمس, you are going to pay khumus is fifth, 20%. That's what it means, right? A fifth is 20%. A rikaz is not just treasures of before Islam. So any treasure that is found before Islam, not in terms of like the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but in terms of Islam entering a land. Islam entering a land. For example, if I find gold that is dated or silver that is dated to 1200 years ago in the peninsula, in the Arabian Peninsula, Islam already entered that place. This is not called treasure. This is not called treasure. I can't just keep it. I have to announce it for a year, see if there's going to be an owner that comes and claims it. And if not, then I pay 20. But if, let's say,
What if the government claims it?
خلاص, the government, I don't think at that time you worry about zakat. You just got oppressed. All your things just got taken. It's time for you to make dua at that point. So, but let's say like in America, we went to the beach with the little metal detector, somehow found gold, because Islam hasn't spread in America, right? When we mean Islam entering a place, like Islam ruled the place. So if we go to the beach and let's say we find gold that's dated to 400 years ago, I count it, I'm going to give 20% of it, the rest I can keep. And this is like, and the way that you would know the timing, like if it was in the Muslim lands, for example, is generally treasure that is hidden. We're talking about gold and silver and so on. They have the markings of their time, right? Like they'll tell you this is like from this kind of era, and then you would just do the math of, is this before Islam or after Islam, right? If it's before Islam, khalas, I give my 20% away, and then keep the rest. No, before Islam. It has to be before Islam. Before Islam came and went to that place.
What about after Islam?
After Islam, it's not treasure. This is lost property now.
And then what do you do?
I have to announce it for a year to see if someone is going to claim it. If someone claims it, then...
You know, so this is actually very relevant where I come from. So there's been like gold coins stored in the Mughal era that people they rebuild their houses, they find.
Yeah.
So if you announce it, the government actually comes and takes it.
Yeah, no, so then you have to say, like, is this from the time? No, is this from the time?
No, it's definitely
After Islam?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. You just call it gharima. Say he's a kuffar. You say the Hindus are oppressive.
That's what they do. They don't announce it.
They announce it. They just get.
Or even if like I'm just telling you practicality. Like if let's say somebody found a 20 kg of gold, there's a lot of gold, right?
Yeah.
They just declare to the government, oh, we found 2 kg. If they
Can you announce the fifth and get the government?
Oh, you know what you do? You know, just put Put the sign on the top of a really high tree. And be like, whoever comes read it. Just wait a year, no one comes. Khalas, why about that? No, it's I don't know what you do, man.
You know, these are like they still find a lot of.
Yeah, still find a lot of gold, and it's after Islam. So, I'm done. Just say it's gharima. The Hindus are oppressive. Let me keep about that.
Though it was Islam entered, but now it's no longer Dawla Islam. Right?
So, but it entered though. It took over.
Yeah.
Right. So if at any time it took over, for example, like if we find wealth today in Spain, right? If we find like treasures that were buried and it's after the time, like recently they found some. They found in France treasures from during the times of Banu Umayyah, the Khilafah of Banu Umayyah, they found those. The person that found it has to pay zakat on. Obviously, the government takes it, right? This is not it's an option. But if he had the option, like he would have to pay it. He'd have to pay the 20% zakat on it. Any other questions on this part?
Yeah, I have a question. So, what if you the question is, where would you have to post it? Like, where would you have to announce it? Is it like
today we say social media. Huh?
You just post it on Twitter or
no, not at the masjid. We don't make those announcements at the masjid.
No, I mean,
No, you make it some. You just go to the marketplace and say, "Hey, I found this," and you don't give the description, right? Like you say, "I found property. I found gold at a place." If you come and describe, they should be able to tell you what kind, how much, and so on. If they can't tell you that, sorry, you don't have it. You know, and that's how it would go. Any other questions here? Nice.
Yeah. So I ask you a question. So if I'm correct, if you're buying like a car, let's say,
Yes.
you're saying I'm going to drive for 4 years and sell it, and I have to pay Zakat on it
Yes.
when I sell it and every year, because I'm planning on selling it.
Yeah, no, this is overuse by that point. So generally, like the example that we gave, like if I plan to, I think all of us, the idea is always in the mind, like we'll sell our cars when we want to get new ones, right? But let's say I'm someone that has 30 cars in my garage. I drive 2 or 3 of them. Those I have to pay zakat on, right? Because, yeah, when I sell it, yeah, those I would have to pay zakat on them. Because one, I'm not using them, and like this is something that we're not, like generally the idea is you will sell it at a point. So when that time comes. But if it's like your car that you're using every day, no.
Even when you sell it.
Even when you sell it, you wouldn't pay zakat. But if it is like you actually are having a bunch of, or like houses, right? We don't pay zakat on the houses that we own because we're using it even when we sell it, right? We wouldn't consider this like trade goods. For us, they serve another purpose.
Yeah, the $10 million house.
Allah.
Sell it, right? And using it because it's your house, you don't have to pay zakat, right? But I keep that $10 million in my account
For a year.
for a year, then you have to pay, right?
Yeah.
How does this apply to like additional properties? If, like, for example, any of us become landlords and we're
Start time to pay. You're not using it. You are not using that. And usage, like our clothes, technically this is wealth, right? Technically, clothes are wealth. We spend money to buy these things. If I am not, the reason why we don't pay zakat on it is because I am using them. A better example is when we look at animals. Animals that are not just for grazing. You can have 2 cows, like me and you could have the same number of cows that we have to pay zakat on them. But my cows are not used for the same purpose as yours. Yours, you just have them as I'm wealthy. I have it because I need them to do these actions. I need them to do this work on my farm. I don't have to pay zakat on them. You have to pay zakat every single year that they're there. You just continuously pay. For me, this is a working animal. The Prophet ﷺ told us that the hadith that we said that a person for his slave, he doesn't have to pay, nor for his horses, because they're being used. And since they're being used, you don't pay zakat. But if they're not used, and these 2 things are kept as like let's just say you're just buying and trading horses. You're not using them, but you're just you call it a horse trader. If you're doing that, you have to pay zakat on them. Because this is like what the intended purpose of these things are. On the other hand, the horse you don't buy to just keep, right? I'm going to use it to ride. I'm going to use it to pull my whatever that, and so on. At that point, I wouldn't have to pay zakat. There's a question from our brother on Zoom. Why is it just gold and silver? In the Shafi'i madhab, like why not platinum? That still have value and so on. The reason why in the Shafi'i madhab it's only on zakat and gold, these other types of precious metals existed at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And every single type that we were told to pay zakat on was always gold and silver, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says, وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ, people at the time used to keep other, like copper, for example. There's copper coins, right? Talked about the pennies would be like in copper. They used to use these things, but they were never mentioned when it comes to the rulings of zakat in the Quran nor in the Sunnah. So we're not going to expand it more than it's already there, right? If there were something new, like let's say, like paper money. We don't use gold and silver now. We use paper money. We have to pay zakat on them. And the reason for it is because they took the place of gold and silver, right? Like and that's why for money, we don't weigh money. We take the nisab from gold and silver. So we go 85 grams let's say it's $60 a gram today. Whatever that value is, if I have that much in cash, I pay zakat on it. So that's why the Shafi'i madhab, they restricted it to just gold and silver. Yes.
Going off the zakat for the car. What if you own multiple cars, but you yourself are not actually using all of them? Like there's other people that are using it. Like a father owns multiple cars and he has multiple sons. So would the father have to pay for the cars because his sons are using them, but he's not using them?
No, he wouldn't pay. Why? Because these are responsibilities. It is the responsibility of the father, if the children need a car, for him to provide it. And them using it removes it from it being something that is, we would say zakat, it becomes a zakat deductible. So you take it away from you take it away from to pay zakat. It's being in use and so on.
Like, going back to what he was asking, so if you buy additional property and you rent it out, right?
Yes.
So you have to pay both on the value of the property as well as the rent that you're making from it.
I have no idea. Never thought of owning houses. So not only that, never thought of buying houses to become a landlord. So never looked into it. But inshallah, we'll look into it. Next week we'll have the answer, yes.
So we talked about mining gold and silver. What about petrol?
For us, only. Very restricted. Gold and silver only. Alright, but I know, so this is just the Shafi'i madhab. The others, anything that, like, those type of things that you are going to make wealth off, you digging them, you'd pay zakat on them. What? Huh? Bismillah.
So just to confirm, we said stock is not considered a trade good. So you.
I don't think that's what we said. I think we said the opposite.
It is considered a trade good.
Huh? Yeah, we said it is it's not a deductible.
Right.
You gotta pay it.
But in Shafi'i madhab, it is, that's what you said.
You don't.
No, not in Shafi'i madhab.
You have to pay every year 2.5% as well. Because you're
Or at the end one time when you sell it. Yeah, but here we said we are going to pay every single year 2.5% of it. And then we talked about the other madhab that allows you to pay at the end. And our brother said he was following the wrong madhab on this part. We go back to that.
Also, I think the same thing applies to metals if it's a trade good.
Oh yes.
Holding it for investment.
Yes, any like trade goods nullify all of the rulings of every other type of zakah. They nullified the fact, like fruits, tomatoes, right? We don't pay zakat on them. Oh, but they're used as trade. We're going to clothes. We don't pay zakat on clothes, but you're selling clothes. You have to pay zakat, right? Chairs, houses. If you're selling, like the only purpose is selling. Cars, only purpose you have to pay zakat, because when it comes to when it comes to trade goods, all of the rules of zakat are like, this is a category that has its own set of rules, and things that take everything else out from before, we don't use them. Allahu Akbar. So I actually wrote a paper on this recently. You pay it at the end. Whenever you take it out, yes. And what is the reason for it? Why?
You don't have complete access.
There you go. You don't have complete access to it. And then we had a brother that asked us, what if I could take it out? Right? What if I can actually take it out and without penalties? He said there's some that don't have penalties. Well, yeah, right. So you just wait until it's time. When it comes out, and then you pay it on there. And then we also talked about, the insurance of, like, as an employer. Let's say you have employees, you have an insurance policy. You pay $12 for $1 million policy. Do you pay zakat on there or not? Right? As like the business owner, because you have $1 million that is supposedly there for you. You don't pay it because you are missing. There's no tamalluk. Like you don't possess it. It's there, but you don't have full control of it, right? You have to have full control of any type of wealth in order for you to be responsible for paying zakat.
So on 401k, I posed this question to one of our Hanafi brothers. They said technically you have access to half of the wealth after the penalty, right? So it's better for you to pay for that, consider that half and
every year.
Every year, right?
Allahu Akbar.
Just wanted to pay more than that.
Safe option. Safe option. You have a retirement plan. Allah will be your retirement plan. Don't worry.
And the trade moves, like, so let's say raisins, right?
Yes.
So On raisins, it would be 5%, let's assuming you're irrigating.
As a rate, yes.
5%. But if you consider that as a trade good, right, then it drops 2.5%, right? So I'm assuming you still want us to pay 5%.
No. You pay the 2.5%.
Oh, the lower one?
Yes.
If you are explicitly...
Like you are selling. But if you own the thing, right? If you own the production of it and the selling of it, 7.5, make it easy on yourself, you know? Do 7.5% for it. Right? For the one, when you harvest it, you have to pay it. Right? You harvest it. Now you're like, you know what? I also want to sell it. Because generally, the asal is that when we harvest things, we're doing it for ourselves. So because I harvested this thing now, like I have to pay the harvestation tax, the zakat of it. Khalas. Now you know what? I actually want to sell it. Right? Which would be different if I am buying from somebody else to sell it, this inventory.
No, but if I explicitly am doing it for the purpose of selling,
Yes.
so
Like you,
plus 2.5?
that would be the safest option for you. Yeah.
You mean the math is 5%
When you're selling.
5% when you
At the end of the year.
yeah, and then when you sell it, 2.5%, right?
No.
I just want to say one thing. You have to have almost 1,400
Pounds.
So-
No, but if you're selling, obviously you have to have more than that, right? I think 5 camel loads is like,
It's too much.
huh? But I'm saying like if you are like if you have a farm, you're not growing like 2 pounds of raisins. That's like something I do in my front yard, right? If I am actually like into this thing, then it's like, okay, I'm actually gonna have more than that. All right. So because I have more than that, so let's say, look, these two things as a trade good, that 5%. When do you pay it? At the end of the year. No, not 5%. That 2.5%. And then when you are harvesting, when do you pay it? At the time of harvesting. So when you harvest, no matter what the intention is for it afterwards, whatever, you have to pay that 2.5%. Double taxing, hey man, you know.
2.5%, not 35%.
Wow, Allah, yes.
Google can find this paper you wrote. Is it accessible to us either intellectually?
I can send it to you guys, inshallah. It's in Arabic though. I can throw it in the chat, inshallah. طيب. I'll throw it in the chat. Oh yeah, good.
So back to Ross.
Okay, it is 1:14. Jazakumullah khairan. 11:14. For those on Zoom, I'm going to close it unless you guys have questions. If you guys have questions here, then we'll just take the questions. But if you have to go, I don't want to hold people, inshallah. We are finished with our book, and we will do, we're finished with today. We will do Zakat al-Fitr. Next week we'll finish, inshallah. So 3 lessons for Kitabul Zakat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for shortcomings. Sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. طيب, questions time. Yes, Ratha, yeah. No, I just don't want people to feel like, they have to stay here.
Yeah, so Roth IRA, you have 5 years. You basically can't touch that money without penalty. So for those 5 years, pay the post penalty or just not pay?
So for us, we said like you have to be able to access it. Like you have complete control of this money. And when we said complete control, it means right now, whatever money is in my bank account, I can do what I want with it without going through a process, without having to be charged for it and so on. If I don't have that kind of control of the wealth, then I should not worry myself with paying zakat on it until I actually are given that full control. So let's say the retirement plan is going to have $1 million when I'm 60. On that $1 million, there is times before where I could take it out. Most likely I won't have money to pay zakat, right? Let's say that there is, if I want to be safe every year, I should just look at the value and go 2.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%. Or I can wait until the day that I am going to take this out, no penalty, and it enters into my lap. And because this is like money that I just harvested, I just came to me, I'm going to pay on it right now. Right, I'm going to pay on it right now for it. There are other madhab, for example, the Hanafi madhab. The opinion is that every year you calculate it and you are going to pay it every single year. Every single year as it comes, you just pay, you just pay, you just pay, you just pay. Because this is, even though you don't have complete control of the money, it is still your money. The example that we gave last week was, if I give instead of stealing, I give out a loan. People, when they give out loans, you usually give out two types of loans in terms of how you feel. There are loans that I give out, I have no hope that it's coming back, right? And there are loans that I give out, and there's hope that it's coming back. These two wealths, the one that I have no hope is coming back, right? Just because of I know the people, I wouldn't pay zakat on it. I would not pay zakat on it. But the wealth that I know is coming back, I need to pay zakat on it. Right? Because even though I don't have that complete control of it now, because it's not in my possession, but I know it's going to come back. And this is what they use. Now we go from there to the next step. Wealth that is stolen from you. Wealth that is stolen from you, again, the same two conditions. If there's a possibility that is going to be returned.
Like insurance, for example?
No, not insurance, for example. Like
insurance is going to pay you back.
So that's different. There's no
there's hope.
There's no hope. You're actually getting it. You're actually getting it, right? Like, you know, insurance is going to give you the money. But the hope that I'm saying, like, the person is going to return it, or somebody's going to catch them and get you back your wealth. That's always a possibility, right? There's a possibility of that. If that possibility is there, then I'm going to look at it as, this is actually still wealth that I would pay zakat on. But let's say, and because of the societies that we live in, no one's giving you that money, right? They steal, khalas, it's gone. I don't have to pay zakat on it, because it's no longer in my possession. But let's say I live in a just society where somehow the person is going to be caught and my money is going to be given to me, I should still count it towards my zakat payables.
So let's say you give out a loan, right?
Yes.
Brother says, I'm going to return you after 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do I keep counting it for 2 years?
Yes, you keep counting it for 2 years.
You pay for
Yeah, so you pay 1 year, the next year you also pay it. But let's say,
This incentivizes me to give loan to somebody, right? Yeah. But I don't have access to it. Somebody is using it, and I'm going to pay.
Inshallah, if you give me $100,000 loan, how much is your zakat?
2,500.
Okay.
Now
Khalas. Let the incentive come back. And that's $100,000, right?
If you're giving $100,000,
I don't think 2,500 is,
I'm just debating the merit of like how we give out zakat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have access to it, yes, then that's one of the conditions.
Yes.
I give out somebody loan,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to return it like next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have access to that money.
But you know it's coming back.
Yes, but when it does come back, when it's back in my possession, I will give it back. So the intention here is not to avoid things.
Paying zakat is, why should I pay it if I don't have access to it? If this is not like in my full possession, because I gave it out.
There's always a possibility that it may not return back.
So that's when you decide, right? If like, let's say, like, we know the people we give money to, where when I give money to my siblings, there's zero hope of it coming back. Even though we said it's a loan and things. Forget siblings. When I give it to family members.
siblings and family members.
No, but I'm saying like extended family, like uncles and like I have zero hope it's coming back, right? So I don't even count it towards my zakat. I just say, khalas, this is not part of, because I most likely not. One, we also, Allahu Akbar. No worry, for you guys, I'll keep the zakat and be like, khalas, it's right. So that's how it, and then again, really, what we said last week, with zakat, we don't want to look for loopholes. We want to avoid looking for loopholes. I want to close all the loopholes. Because imagine your neck being strangled with a serpent and then biting you and ana kanzuka ana maluk, like I am your wealth, I am your treasure. I don't really want that. I want 2.5%. I'm of it 42% in taxes. Right? No complaining. Just go and take it. Take it away from it. That's what I'm saying. Complain to them. Complain to them, man. That's why it's 2.5%. The government should not be taxing us. But I get the force of
But if
that.
you're like a landlord and you have a couple cars that you're not using and you also have gold and silver, would you be paying 2.5%? Would you paying the zakat for each one separate, or would you be combining the zakat? Paying it all?
You calculate separate and then you. No, you calculate separate.
Mathematically, it's the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I thought that must have- oh, no.
But I just asking about.
Oh, you mean the nisab?
Oh no, you would combine the nisab all together. So the nisab, we said, it is your assets take away liabilities, and then if it passes the nisab, then you would pay on it, right? And liabilities would be like all of the bills that you would have and things like that. From there, you would say, this is what is left over. From here, is this the nisab or not? How do I know what the nisab is? It's gold and silver, right? I would know it. What is 595 grams of silver? $300, $400. If my assets after the liabilities are more than 500, then I would pay 2.5 from that. Let's say that I do that with just straight cash. Like I only have money, paper money for some reason. Or let's say I don't have paper money, but I have gold, I have silver bars, I have gold bars, I have houses, I have those animals and these things. Okay, let's figure out what is the nisab for it. Does it pass it? Now I have to pay the zakat on these things.
Separate each of the categories. So
From the ones that we mentioned, yeah.
So zero doesn't go into.
You wouldn't do it, no. You would, and because the calculations are different, right, for most of them. So you wouldn't do it. But let's say, we say wealth like amwal, like this wealth. We would go, in our times, we would go paper money, properties, cars, stocks, like anything that is of monetary value, would say this is all wealth. Let me add them. Let me take away the liabilities. What I have left over, is it above the nisab or not? If it's above it, I have to pay zakat. And then now I go and take 2.5% of all this wealth that I have, and I go and pay it after it passes a year.